Hello, we are working on the function section of the Codecademy Learn JavaScript syllabus. So, what are functions? You can kind of think of them as a little piece of software that does one thing. So they're kind of talking about this function is like an add stuff together function. So it measures the width of the rectangle, measures the height of the rectangle, and then it multiplies the width times the height. So this function, we could reuse it over and over again to figure out different triangles or sides of things. So that is, we've got a width, we've got a height, and we've got an area. This is sort of outside of a function. This is like how we would start writing it. So imagine being able to calculate the area of 3 different triangles. We'd have kind of a mess already. So in programming, we use code to perform a specific task multiple times instead of rewriting the same code. So we can group a block of code together and associate it with a single task. Then we reuse that block of code whenever we need to perform the task. So this is what a function is. So we're going to be learning how to create them. There's a million different ways. And so we're going to start off with like more traditional, been around with JavaScript for a while, function. Take a look at the provided GIF. It shows a function named add one side. Okay, concept review, moving on. Okay, so just like a variable, you want to declare your function. You want to basically create it. So a function declaration consists of the function keyword, so you have to use function when you're stating it. The name of the function, which can be anything you want, and then followed by parentheses. And these parentheses can have things passed in through them or not. It's the arguments for the function. And then the body of the function is surrounded by curly brackets. So it looks something like, let's see, what do they want me to... So here's a function green world, or greet world. There's the parentheses, and then anything that happens inside the curly brackets is the function. So this function console logs hello world. And then if we want to invoke the function outside of the function, I guess here they are calling the function. They're console logging the function, which console logs hello world. Okay. Notice how hoisting allowed greet world to be called before greet world. So see how we haven't even declared our function yet, but we're still able to do a console log above here. This is called hoisting. So what hoisting does is, like, whenever you load a JavaScript file, the browser or whatever application that's running the JavaScript will kind of go through and say, okay, what are all the functions? What are all the variables? And it sort of puts them like, okay, I'm going to remember those exist. It puts them up in this little like hoisted area. It's like kind of, so this when you're console logging this, even though linearly we haven't assigned it, it still knows that it exists. Okay, let's keep going. It's not considered good practice. Like, this is actually really bad. You want to keep your work linear, because what happens is this will exist in memory, but it may not pull this. You may just get like an undefined. Okay, it's not good practice. We simply want you to be aware of this feature. If you want to read more about hoisting, check this out. Fantastically interesting read. Actually, hoisting is kind of cool to think about. Okay, so let's create a function that prints a reminder to the console. Using a function declaration, create a function called getReminder. So function getReminder, parentheses, and then curly bracket. It's standard practice to have a space between your parentheses and your curly bracket, though it's not required for the code to pass. Just wanted to put that out there. Let's see if we passed. Come on, run. Hooray! Okay, in the function body, log the following. So we want to do a console.log. And we want to say water the plants. So I'm going to give it a string, water the plants. Okay, let's run that. Okay, so that passed. And you notice that it hasn't run yet because we haven't invoked this function. We haven't told this function to run. It's waiting for instructions. So let's create another function that prints a useful Spanish travel phrase. Using the function declaration function, create a function called greet in Spanish, parentheses, curly brackets. Okay, run. Okay, add code to the function body of greet in Spanish. In the function body, console log, so I'm inside the curly brackets, console.log, the following Spanish phrase to the console. Buenas tardes. Okay. All right, there we go. Concept review. All right, well, we just made two functions that are returning strings. Calling a function. So as we saw in the previous exercise, a function declaration binds a function to an identifier. The identifier would be the name of the function. However, a function declaration does not ask the code inside the function body to run. It just declares the existence of the function. So it only executes when we call it. So to call a function in your code, you type the function name followed by parentheses. And I think you guys have probably seen this with jQuery. But basically, if you just call the name, sort of similar to when you're calling a variable, you just call the name, but you have to have the parentheses. That tells JavaScript that this is a function or a method. Okay, so function, greet world, console log, and then, get greeting, and then you call get greeting, and then this will invoke the function runs and prints that to the console. We can call the same function as many times as needed, so let's practice calling functions. Imagine you manage an online store. When a customer places an order, you send them a thank you note. Let's create a function. So define a function, so function say thanks, parentheses, curly brackets. In the body of the function, add code such that the function writes the following thank you message to the console when called. Thank you for your purchase. We appreciate your business. So I'm going to copy that. I'm definitely not typing that. I'm going to do a console.log, parentheses, and then inside the parentheses, I will paste that string. And I passed, okay. Call say thanks to view the thank you message in the console. So I can just take this function name and say, okay, return me the value of say thanks. And then there you go. Functions can be called as many times as you need. Imagine that 3 customers placed an order and you wanted to send each of them a thank you. Update your code to call say thanks 3 times. I'm pretty sure they just want me to do this. Yay, okay, cool. Let's go to the next one. Parameters and arguments. So far, the functions we've created execute a task without an input. However, some functions can take inputs and use the inputs to perform a task. When declaring a function, we can specify its parameters, and this is what those parentheses are for. Parameters allow functions to accept inputs and perform a task using the inputs. We use parameters as placeholders for information that will be passed to the function when it's called. Let's observe how to specify parameters in our function declaration. So function calculate area. If we pass it a width and a height, and then we log the width times the height, then we will get we'll get width times height. In the diagram above, calculate area computes the area of the rectangle based on two inputs, width and height. Parameters are specified between parentheses as width and height, and then these are sort of stand-ins for any value that we pass when we're invoking the function. So let's see. The function call above, the number 10. Okay, so they're still talking about. So when I invoke the function, this is going to be, 10 is going to be passed in for width, and 6 is going to be passed in for height. So whatever this order is of, and these can be any name at all, it doesn't matter as long as sort of like you're using them in the right order. Like I really want to, so function banana size. If I have length and I have girth, I can return length times girth, I guess. Okay, so if I invoke this function, banana size, and I have like 8 and then 4, what happens is this first one gets put into the value of length, so it becomes like length, in this case, equals 8, and then girth equals 4. So it kind of creates these sort of invisible variable things. And so, yeah, the first one matches the first one, the second one matches the second one, and then I can do whatever I want. So, so yeah, let's keep going. I will remove the banana. Okay, so calculated area computes the rectangle based on two inputs. Width and height. Okay, yes. I want to get to making stuff. Calculate. Okay, so the say thanks function works well, but let's add the customer's name in the message. Okay, so add a parameter name called name. So we want to put a name here in the parameter. So parameter, argument, those are all sort of interchangeable. Okay, so we've added a parameter. And now use name and string concatenation and change the thank you message into the following. I'm just going to copy paste. So thank you. Thank you for your appreciation, name. We appreciate your business. Okay, run. Okay, and then now when I invoke the function, so I'm going to invoke say name, say thanks. If I run this now, it's just going to return, it'll probably say that name doesn't exist actually. I'm curious to see what the error is. Did you? No, it's not giving me an error. I guess it just ignores it. So if there's no value, it's just sort of skipping over it. So anyway, I'm going to put a string in because I need it to be a string, and I'm going to say Katie. Run. Thank you for your purchase, Katie. We appreciate your business. So you want to make sure that because this is a string, that you're also passing it a string. You could also do a number. Since this hasn't been declared as a number or a string or anything, so that would totally work. Thank you for your purchase, 8. But yeah, we'll just do Katie. Okay. What you can't do is say Katie without quotes, because this is looking for a variable name, Katie, which does not exist. Okay, I will stop talking. Run. What? Oh no, see? Oh. What did I do? Oh, I have to pass it col. Fine. Cool. Okay, sweet. I passed. Let's go. Oh, I gotta talk faster. Okay, default parameters. One feature added to ES6 is the ability to use default parameters. They allow parameters to be predetermined values in case there's no argument passed into the function. So take a look at the code below. Function greeting, it's passing name equals stranger. So this is a default parameter. Console log hello name. Greeting Nick. So this will replace name and it won't be stranger, it'll be Nick. Okay. Use the default parameter. Instructions. Make shopping list. Create a shopping list based on the items that are passed into the function arguments. Item 1, item 2, item 3. Imagine that you always purchase milk, bread, and eggs. So I could say item 1 equals milk. Item 2 equals, I'm probably getting ahead of myself. Change the parameters of, okay, assign, okay, good. Milk, item 2 is bread, and item 3 is eggs. So if I need nothing else, I know at least to get those. Okay, run. And then I want to invoke it. It's not fair. I'm going to invoke it. I don't care what they say. Make shopping list. Run. Yay! So we get these. And then if I were to say, I don't know, pepperoni. I wonder if I can just give it one. It'll probably complain. Oh, look, that's great. I can just give it one argument. Cool. Let's go to the next one. Did I make it complain? No. Number 6. When a function is called, the computer will run through the function's code and evaluate the result of calling the function. By default, that result value is undefined. Function, rectangle, width, height. Let area equal width times height. Rectangle area, 7 times nothing. 7 times undefined. You can't times 7 with undefined. In the code example, we define our function to calculate the area of the width and height parameters. Then rectangle area is invoked with the arguments 5 and 7. But when we get to print the results, we get undefined. Did we write our function wrong? No, in fact, the function worked fine, and the computer did calculate the area, but we didn't capture it. So how can we do that? With the keyword return. Oh, I see. So let the area, but then, yeah, you're letting the area be something, but you're not returning it or logging it or anything like that. Okay, let's just do this. Let's get faster. Number 1, imagine if we needed to order monitors for everyone in an office. This office is conveniently arranged in a grid shape. We could use a function to help us calculate the number of monitors. Declare a function monitor count, parentheses, curly bracket, that has 2 parameters. The first is rows, and the second one is columns. Okay. All right, number 2, let's compute the number of monitors by multiplying rows and columns, and then returning the value. So we basically, whenever you hear return, you want to return the thing. Like use the word return. So we're returning rows times columns. Okay, now the function is defined, we can compute the number of monitors needed. Let's say that the office has 5 rows and 4 columns. So we want to, oh, I see. I'm joking, hang on, I'm going to pause. Okay. I am declaring a variable named num of monitors using the const keyword, const, I have a typo, and assign num of monitors the value of invoking. Okay, so I want this down here outside the function because I'm going to be invoking the monitor. So it equals the function, and then inside the function we're passing 5 for rows and 4 for columns. Okay. Cool. To check that the function worked properly, log num of monitors to the console. So then after this exists, then I want to say console.log. I will fix that typo in a second. Num of monitors. And then we get 20. Cool. Next one. Helper functions. I may split this. Let me see. I'm going to pause again, see where I'm at.